Hey there, YouTube world. My name is Thomas Mattis, and I run the Absolution network. I am the host of many different podcasts, from Tom's Prerogative to CMG's Wrestling Reviews. And what you're about to see is the Tom Prerogative podcast migrating from an audio form to a video format. I've been doing it as an audio format for about 8 years, and now that I have better technology and knowledge, I'm migrating to a video format. With this video, it's the first one I'm doing, and I'm trying some different things that I've really not seen on YouTube. More than just do the classic sort of nostalgia critic type of critique review show with full of clips and making fun of them for jokes and comedy. This is more, not so much a serious review, but more of just a fun, I think more honest critique of movies. More importantly, it's going to feature segments like the opening monologue and the Tom's Pulpit at the end that hopefully differentiate it from all the other type of pop culture critique review shows that you'll see on YouTube. Please feel free to let me know, hopefully some constructive criticism of how to make the show better. I know it's not the best. I know I don't have the best lighting. I'm using the best knowledge that I can, but I know it can be better, and I want to make it better. Hopefully, you'll see the charisma from me, and the entertainment of the show from me will entertain you. Like I said, warning again, I'm trying a whole lot of things with this, so this first episode is really long. I got to work on length, especially during the review format. It really is me just doing that audio podcast and switching it to sort of video form. So that's something I know I got to work on, but please feel free to leave constructive criticism. I hope you enjoy this very different take on doing pop culture reviews of the shows that we loved growing up with as kids. With that, please enjoy the show.
Absolution, come to peace with your inner nerd, and after you can stay gold like T.O.M. Chilling out the galaxy, and we know him. Putting tunes up that'll keep you up, glued to the screen like you do too much. The galaxy is ours, the sun and the stars, and tsunamis on and chilling hard. Watching closely from a perch among the stars, as viewers await the moment when the spirit bomb can charge. Hito Yui self-detonates, Yu Hakusho replicates and spits in the spirit well while they're just...
Oh, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Thank you. Oh, thank you everyone. Thank you to the first episode of the newly relaunched Tom's Prerogative. Yes, we here at the Absolution network are back. And by the way, first botch of the new show, failing to push my glasses back up. I'd like to welcome everybody to what I like to call the Church of the Absolution and Tsunami, or as I'm legally supposed to call it, my mother's basement. Oh God, been away for a long time. By the way, sorry if you hear any fans or anything. We're here in the Northeast where we are experiencing the surface of the sun. So yeah, we got fans on. So if you hear a fan in the background, I apologize. But it has been a year, and boy, let me tell you something. I don't want to deal with that again. Like, so much to cover, so much. Oh, it's almost too much to go over, but why don't we try a little bit? So let's try to cover some of maybe the highlights of what I've missed over the past year. Let's start with movies. Movies is a very interesting place to start. We've had some good movies. Marvel is kicking ass. Yeah, that's right. Marvel's kicking ass. You had Thor Ragnarok in November, and then you had the excellent Black Panther. You then had, of course, Marvel's Avengers Infinity War Part 1, which they've been building up for years, which shocked many people when they killed everybody off. Even the ones who apparently even read the book. Like, I can't believe they killed them off. Didn't you read the book? Oh yeah, I read the book. Can't believe they killed them off. Didn't expect it. Like, how do you not expect something that actually happens in the book to actually happen in the book? It blows my mind, but amazing, broke so many records. Of course, you also have Deadpool 2, which also kicked ass, hilarious, just as funny as the first one. And of course, coming up in the next weekend, I think, is of course Ant-Man and Wasp, looking to continue the role. So you had those movies come out. Let's see. You also, of course, had Incredible 2, the sequel that everybody's been waiting 14 years for. Also kicked ass, wonderful movie. Of course, I think some of the people that have been most anticipating Avengers 2 to come out are, of course, the Violet fanboys who, these people were like the Olsen twin fanboys who were desperately waiting for the Olsen twins in the 90s to turn 18. But of course, unfortunately for them, this new movie takes place right after the last movie, so sorry guys, you're still perverts and pedophiles. Oddly enough, pervert and pedophile is also a code name that the Secret Service has for Donald Trump. Did not know that. Let's see, well, of course, the really big movie stuff that came out was, Star Wars Last Jedi, and of course, Solo, the Han Solo movie, which I thought both were, well, Han Solo was good, and Last Jedi was okay. Of course, the big scene in Last Jedi, spoiler alert, was the scene where, the ship gets blown up, and Princess Leia, all of a sudden you think she's dead, and everybody's expecting it, and everybody's ready to cry, and all of a sudden she Supermans her way back to the ship and stays alive. And boy, let me tell you, I found that scene to be absolutely amazing. I mean, the fact that they resurrected Christopher Reeve and cured his peritonitis and dressed him up as Princess Leia almost perfectly just to do that scene for just an Easter egg. That's amazing. Of course, I kid. That was, of course, one of the last things that Carrie Fisher shot. Though, I'm sure one of the things that pissed off many people was the fact that they couldn't believe they didn't kill her off, considering what it had, Carrie Fisher's untimely death before the movie came out. And of course, I think nobody's more pissed off about this than, Carrie Fisher, who's obviously somewhere in heaven going like, I gotta do another one of these? Boy, I'll tell you, Hollywood, not even death gives you a break. No. Of course, there were a lot of angry people who didn't like the movie. Demanded, Disney said it ruined Star Wars, demanding that Disney, let them remake it so that they could save the franchise. Of course, to many of us, these were 14 and 15-year-old teenagers with far too much time on their hands sitting in their mother's basement, making fun of people. But to the gullible among us, we like to call them bigoted trolls. Oddly enough, bigoted troll is yet another code name that the Secret Service apparently has for Donald Trump. I did not know that either. Let's get away from movies though. Animation's been kicking ass. Toonami, the two big premieres that have happened this year. You have Fooly Cooly. Progressive is almost over, and next is going to be Alternative. It's awesome, just as good as the original, at least for me. It puts a tear to my eye. And then, of course, you also have the recent premiere last weekend of Pop Team Epic, a manga anthology anime that's based on a gag comic full of Japanese comedy that will completely fly over the head of most Americans. So I do find that funny is that the top two animes right now on TV in America are animes that are abstract animes that make your brain hurt if you think too much about the plot. Or as most Americans call it, Tuesday. But not everything for Cartoon Network has been okie dokie. About a month ago, they released a trailer for the brand new Thundercats cartoon that they announced, done in the style of Teen Titans Go, called Thundercats Roar. And the internet, after seeing this, collectively said to Cartoon Network, "Hey, Cartoon Network, we have a present for you. It's a bird. Let us flip it out for you." Of course, not everybody was as upset about the new Thundercats. There were people who very much enjoyed the new, as they called it, the very feminine drawn style. That's what they're apparently calling it, a feminine drawn style. That's apparently popular. That's what they're calling it. It's Teen Titans Go when Thundercats Roar, and though they don't want them called cats anymore. They're feminine drawn felines, or as sexists would call them, pussies. Pussy cats. Oddly enough, pussy is also yet another code name the Secret Service has for Donald Trump. Shocking, didn't know that either. But of course, video games. This episode is coming up right on the heels of Summer Games Done Quick, which I think raised over $1 million at least for Doctors Without Borders. Yes, good job for Summer Games Done Quick, the marathon on Twitch, and of course CEO, the fighting game tournament. Had some awesome fights in it. We'll have more on that next episode, definitely. But the big game over the past year is Fortnite, a game that combines the hard-to-aim mechanics of third-person shooters with the boring building mechanics of Minecraft. Pretty much guaranteeing that most of the people playing this will never get laid ever again, as they do what they call Fortniting. I kid. But of course, the object is, of course, to build forts to protect yourself, while also trying to defeat the other players. And if you defeat the other players, I guess you get a golden shower of coins at the end or something. Interesting enough, Golden Shower is also yet another code name the Secret Service has for Donald Trump. Boy, Golden Shower, pussy, pervert, and a pedophile. What was the other one that had for him? Had something, pervert and a pedophile. A bigoted troll, that's right. Man, Donald Trump has a lot of fake names. He has more fake names than a bottom-feeding, gonorrhea-filled, ass-eating, skanky, slutty $2 whore. Oddly enough, is yet another code name that the Secret Service has for Donald Trump. Oh wow! I kid the president. We're not going to be too political here, at least in the monologues. I mean, we're just gonna, I just like to make fun of the president, because what else do young kids do other than make fun of old men who stand on behind their white picket fences and yell at us because they can't get it up anymore? Wow, we have a good show for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to review a movie I have been waiting a long time to review. So, get your Wheaties, get your Nikes on, and get your Wheaties and your Big Macs ready. Because It's time to welcome you to the jam. The Space Jam. It's 1993, it's the end of the NBA season, and Michael Jordan has decided to retire. He's doing this so that he can chase his other dream that he's secretly had, to be a professional baseball player, just like his unfortunately recently passed away father. Unfortunately for Michael, he's not quite good at baseball. Even worse, everybody's really nice and okay about it. Meanwhile, in an intergalactic amusement park named Moron Mountain, run by an evil Mickey Mouse type organization, you know, the same type that would name a sports team the Ducks, you know, well, which is pretty convenient because this evil Mickey Mouse type organization that would name a sports team the Ducks is run by another bird of feather, the Penguin, aka Mr. Swackhammer. And Mr. Swackhammer's cronies know that they need more new attractions. And what bright idea do they have for a new attraction? Why go to Earth and kidnap the Looney Tunes and force them to perform the same stand-up routine over and over again, where it will probably be called It's Always Sunny in Acton Acres. So, Mr. Swackhammer sends his cronies to Earth to kidnap the Looney Tunes. But the Looney Tunes, using classic Looney Tune logic, get one up on the little cronies, the diminutive little ones, by saying that you must allow us to defend ourselves and challenge them to a basketball game, planning on taking advantage of their size. Unbeknownst to Bugs and the rest of the Looney Tunes, these diminutive little aliens are just a tad bit smarter than, Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd. And they head to 3D World, where they kidnap and steal the talent of several major basketball players, including Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing. They use this to turn into the gigantic Monstars, complete with an awesome theme song featuring Method Man, LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes. This shows Bugs that they might need a little bit of help, and they decide to get that help by kidnapping Michael Jordan as he's playing golf with Larry Bird and Bill Murray. They are also joined by a new entry to the Looney Tunes, a female character that is single-handedly responsible for the many midnight sexual fantasies of many young men during this era, Lola Bunny. With Michael convinced to join them, Michael Jordan and the Toon Squad face the Monstars in one big game for the Looney Tunes' freedom. If they, of course, can survive the massive punishing style of the Monstars, that is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Space Jam. Hey there, welcome back, and let's get right into it. Obviously, let's get into Space Jam. I've been wanting to review this for such a long time. Obviously, for those of us who grew up in the 90s, very much a movie of our generation, 1996. And, it's really funny right off the bat, I'm very much into sports. There are a lot of people that, again, the whole stereotype of, geeks aren't into sports and stuff like that. But, very much sports. And Michael Jordan was as much of a prolific figure in the 90s in sports as LeBron James is now, as Tiger Woods was. So, again, growing up, him being a major part of sort of pop culture in a way. And you really, when you think about this movie, it's very funny how, you gotta give it to Michael Jordan, how he allowed this to sort of make fun of him, not really make fun of him, but sort of, this really happened in a way. Not movie and Looney Tunes and the big game. Like, obviously that's fake, but for those who may be too young to know or remember, Michael Jordan did retire. He played up to 93. He won 3 rings with the Bulls. And, he got to a point, and I think it was that his father passed away, that, got to a point to where he didn't know if he had really anything to prove anymore or whatever. And so, he retired early. He had came into the league, I believe it was 87 when he came into the league. or I should say 88 was I think its first season. It was the 87 draft, which, again, the whole famous thing about that draft is the Bulls actually didn't have the number 1 pick. That was the Seattle Supersonics. And I can't remember who they picked, but they didn't pick Michael Jordan. They picked somebody else, and then the Bulls picked Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan went on to win so many rings and stuff for the Bulls, and the guy that they picked, I didn't think made it 1 season. I can't remember how many seasons, but I know that like he became one of those forgotten number 1 draft picks. So he did retire, and he did try his hand at baseball, because that was sort of another love of his, and it didn't work out, and he ended up, I guess, finding his love of basketball and coming back, and I think winning another 3 rings. Or it was he won 4 rings and then came back and won 2 more. Whichever it is. So there is actual real life surrounding this movie. So the ability sort of that actually adds some depth, I think, to the movie. But let's get in right away. We'll get into the things I like and the things I don't like. By the way, I'm showing this because so often when I was doing this as an audio form, I would say, I have your notes, they're digitalized, so I can't shake the paper. Now I'm on video, and now I've printed the notes out, I can shake the paper. I usually like to go over the cast list and some of the important people. Joe Pica, I believe is how. You say it's a great name, so I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. I know that he did mostly music videos and commercials, which again will actually come to play later in one of my criticisms. And of course produced by Joe Medjuck, Daniel Goldberg, and more importantly Ivan Ritten, who he did Ghostbusters and so many other classic movies. So many people played themselves. He had Michael Jordan as himself with Brandon Hammond playing the younger version. You had Bill Murray as himself, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Sean Bradley, Larry Johnson, and Muggsy Bogues, all playing themselves. Jim Rome played himself, a very early Jim Rome, before he came on ESPN and CBS. Sort of the big sports guy that he became. Of course, you had Danny DeVito as Mr. Swackhammer. And then, of course, I think this is Billy West's first major role as sort of Bugs Bunny. He may have done like shorts and things like that, and I could be wrong about this, but I do believe this is sort of maybe the first movie that Billy West played Bugs Bunny in, at least for sure. Because again, when Mel Blanc died in the very late 80s, he did everything, and it was the funny thing. Like, look here now, and like, there's all these people that did. They didn't just do one voice, but they did multiple voices. But again, all those used to be voices done by Mel Blanc, who was just a legendary voice actor, and just it was a sad thing to see him go, and. This is really sort of the first step up for a lot of these voice actors taking over these roles. As you can see, in the spirit of Space Jam, I got my muscle-bound Looney Tunes cup. And now I'll be taking sips from that. I apologize. I promise you, I'm not Marco Rubio. But it's just so damn hot right now. Even with air conditioning and everything on, again, I apologize for the fan and everything. So let's start with stuff I like. The very first thing I like, which is I think a very important thing, is I like the overall setup and just the story of the movie. They kept it simple. It's very simple. And when you really think about it, for those of us who are old enough to remember this cartoon, it is like a Super Harlem Globetrotters cartoon. And for those of you who are too young to remember, or more importantly, were too young to be able to stay up on Friday nights back in the day on Cartoon Network during this time, because they were showing this time like all the way up, I think, up to 2000. it did this, but back when Cartoon Network actually showed a variety of cartoons, not just not Teen Titans Go, every day, every hour. Friday night was sort of, the funky detective time. Like, they would show The Funky Phantom and Speed Buggy and other shows like that. And one of the shows they would show was the Super Harlem Globetrotters, which was the Harlem Globetrotters, the traveling basketball team, actually had super identities. And basically each episode went like this. They would be going somewhere for a game or something, and they'd run into some villainy, a team of thieves, team of evil magicians, evil monsters, aliens, and there would be a conflict between the Globetrotters and these villains, the antagonists. And the way they would decide to settle the conflict would ultimately be the decision to have a basketball game. And usually what would happen is in the first half, the Harlem Globetrotters would get trounced by the other team who were cheating or using their magic abilities or whatever. And so to realize they have to win, the Harlem Globetrotters would ultimately transform into the Super Harlem Globetrotters and come back in the second half to win. Sound familiar? If you've seen this movie, you know it sounds familiar because that's pretty much, in a way, what happened here. You had the evil aliens that had an evil plan, in this case to kidnap the Looney Tunes to make them money as an attraction. Looney Tunes trick them into allowing them to defend themselves. So you have the protagonists and antagonists against each other, and they ultimately decide to, finish him. They decide to end the conflict by having a basketball game. And ultimately, they get trounced in the first half, they come back in the second half to win it. Of course, there's also a lot of other things that are spread out that actually do flesh out the movie, I think, and keep it interesting and entertaining. Again, as I may mentioned before, they are sort of co-signing what was going on with Michael Jordan's life at this time, to where he was trying baseball, trying to do something other than basketball. But then, of course, this movie, not that Michael Jordan actually went down to Looney Tunes and played a big game and that made him re-spark his love of basketball, but it's a funny story of like, this is how my love of basketball got re-sparked, to where he would join the NBA again. But yeah, so again, so you have that storyline of Michael Jordan trying to decide what he really wants to do, and that conflict within himself going out throughout the movie. And the just zaniness of, and what is a very simple and really Looney Tunes type cartoon plot, which is, I think, played wonderfully here. Where you have, again, it's this, we've come to kidnap you. Well, you have to allow her to defend herself because it's in the book. Again, we'll get to Looney Tunes comedy in just a bit, but again, and then leading to a basketball game, and just, it's a very simple sort of plot. It's a kiddie plot in a way, but there's nothing wrong with a movie having a kiddie plot. For those of you who are watching me for the first time, I really believe in the idea of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I think far too many movies overcomplicate their plot and overcomplicate storylines and are so much focused on, ooh, we did a twist at the end, what a twist, that they forget that a movie's supposed to be entertaining and you're supposed to be connecting your audience. And when you keep a movie simple, and even more importantly, kiddie and fun, you are going to have much better connection with the characters and the story with the audience. And that's something I think Space Jam does a wonderful thing here, is that they do form those connections with the audience, whether it be through nostalgia, love of Michael Jordan, but like being a fan of Michael Jordan, whatever it is, obviously pushing the Looney Tunes as faces and everything, to use wrestling terminology here, and presenting, showing the aliens doing despicable things, stealing the talent from great basketball players, and like beating up on the poor defenseless Looney Tunes. Yeah, again, just keep it simple, simple story execution, simple character motivations in that sense, and it works really well in that sense. Michael Jordan's acting is another thing I like. I thought Michael Jordan did a really great job. Obviously he's not an actor, and I'm not going to sit here and suggest by any means that he should have won an Oscar. I mean, he's not Bob Hoskins, okay? Bob Hoskins actually deserved an Oscar for his performance in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, okay? He's no Bob Hoskins, but Michael Jordan, along with other athletes, and really when you look at the real can sort of act, or wrestlers for that matter, they all have one thing in common, and that is they have this very natural charisma. And Michael Jordan has this very natural charisma to where, acting-wise, he may not be doing anything good. He might even not be a good actor, but he has that natural charisma where he makes everything he's doing entertaining to watch. And that's the thing, is that throughout this entire movie, Michael Jordan came off as very entertaining, very down-to-earth. You can connect with him as a character, even though he's this big NBA star. But, and I think, again, going back to story aspects, portraying his story of him sort of feeling lost and trying to figure out what am I supposed to do, that's something I think all of us, think about at some point in our life, or multiple times through our lives. Once we've completed our goal of some kind, what do we do next? And so, again, that's a very simple story concept that is very easy to connect audiences with a character on. And so, again, whether he doing the technical acting thing correct, he's a very natural charisma, allows him to get away if he glances at the camera mistakenly, which he does a couple times throughout the movie. His eyesight is always where the characters are supposed to be. Overall, I didn't think his acting was bad. And the same could be said for the other NBA actors. Charles Barkley, again, obviously has a very natural charisma for him. Well, ultimately it's what led him to being a TV analyst. Again, that natural charisma. That's another thing that ultimately leads the best sports players to be. They then become TV analysts. Him, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing, I guess we now know why the Knicks lost to the Rockets. In '94. We almost had a dual championship in New York. Which, by the way, I am a Tampa Bay fan, but my second team is always a New York fan because I was born in New York. And in '94, I had yet actually become a Tampa Bay fan, even though I was living in Tampa Bay at the time. And so that year of '93-'94, Rangers winning the cup, and the Knicks in the NBA Finals, we almost had two championships. New York would not be existing now. It would still be a HUD of burning ash if that had actually happened 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, as it is. But yeah, I thought they all did a good job. Really, that is one funny scene, the Basketball Jones scene, to where you got the Basketball Jones song playing in the background, and all the things that are happening with the NBA players, all the medical tests, the psychiatrist, everything that they're doing. Charles Barkley, in the church going, "I'll never date Madonna again." There are some very good adult jokes throughout this movie that you really have to be shocked that they got away with. Just to think of, we got balls! Big, beautiful balls. Not thinking into singing it, but, every time I see Sylvester open that thing, he's like, "We've got balls!" I go, "Big, beautiful balls." Older people will get that joke, by the way. But, so I thought he did a good job. Wayne Knight, very funny throughout the entire movie. Just really, I think, an underrated actor. Did great on Seinfeld and on other roles. Did good getting killed by getting spit on in Jurassic Park. But here did a really great job. I mean, mind you, he's not playing a character as much as he's sort of playing himself as a character. But he works it really, really well. And the comedy very much feels natural from his character. So I thought all the live action actors did a very good job. And I thought Michael Jordan, for not being an actor, did a very good job. I love the inclusion of Lola Bunny. I thought that was such a great add to sort of the Looney Tunes universe. Because they're, remember, this is 96. And being a great addition of a sort of finally a female character. I mean, female characters in the Looney Tunes have almost been non-existent. The only other one I can think of would be, besides Granny, would have been the sort of female skunk that was always running away from Pepe Le Pew. And the occasional female character that was sort of used as an object, as a love interest for whoever. I think there was Peppa Pig, who was Porky Pig's girlfriend, occasionally who showed up. And of course Tweety. I don't know about you. I always thought Tweety was a girl. For some strange reason, I always thought Tweety Bird was a girl. I don't know why, just did. But really, very limited female presence within the Looney Tunes, and this added a great modern type of character to the Looney Tunes family. She had a lot of strong agency within her character. Bringing her in to where she was obviously, besides Michael Jordan, the best basketball player in Acme Acres. Again, I really love the character. I love that they made her a strong character. I loved her overall design. I love the color scheme. The browns actually make me sort of see her as, not only did they bring a female, but they brought in sort of a minority female. Because I always thought that, if they made the Looney Tunes real humans, most of them would be white people. But, I always thought that Lola would be a light-skinned African-American or Latino, for that matter. And again, that's not a criticism that they shouldn't have done that. That's actual praise. And I know I'm not the only one who sort of sees it, because I see so many people of color cosplaying as Lola Bunny. There's obviously sort of a connection there to where people feel like she is more of a minority than she is a white person, even though these are cartoon characters. But, for instance with Bugs, the gray and the white, especially on the face white, if you were sort of make a humanized version of him, most people would probably paint him as sort of a, older white gentleman. But with Lola, I always saw her as, if we were to humanize her, she'd be a person of color. And a pretty cool looking person of color, because she also has that blonde hair, and so it's sort of a blonde, almost mohawk type of thing. That looked cool, actually. But no, I love her character. I love her agency throughout the movie. I love that she's the best basketball player outside of Michael Jordan in the entire movie. I like that she takes no crap from anybody. I love the doll segments where she gets called doll, and then she uses it as fire to whether it be to twist Bugs up or stick it in the face of the Monstars by scoring on them. Again, very strong, independent woman, and just it's a great addition to the cast. So I love Lola in that sense. I've kind of danced around it the entire thing so far. The Looney Tunes comedy. I love it. I've already made mentions for the adult jokes that are sprinkled throughout it. But just in general, the comedy in a modern setting, whether it be taking pot shots at Disney. But also fitted it so perfectly, you know, I go to that joke of Donald saying, you know, I have an idea for a team name, the Ducks. And Bug's going, what type of Mickey Mouse type of organization would name their team the Ducks? And of course, Daffy goes, so sue me. Because it is a pot shot at Disney, but at the same time, it fits Daffy because Daffy's an egotistical bastard. So it fits there, and just all of the entire second half segment to where the Looney Tunes are coming back, and all those little gags, the Pulp Fiction reference. My God, I love that. You know, it's not something I liked initially as a kid because I didn't get it because I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction. Now that I've seen Pulp Fiction, the fact that they put that in there, that's freaking amazing. The sort of classic Looney Tunes comedy that they did. To, you know, Sylvester going after Tweety and not being able to get him, Daffy's egotisticalness and everything, where he paints the red on the Monstar's butt and it causes the bull to, you know, gore him, which is a classic Looney Tunes bit. I think my favorite though is I like to call it the death scene, or it's a deathbed scene, to where it's the end of the second half and they decided to step up, like just brutally injuring the Looney Tunes, and there's that shot that goes down the bench to all the injured Looney Tunes and all the different ways they're injured. You know, Elmer's and that Kaz, but punch stars. Yeah, you have Grendel the Witch using the paddles on Taz, and just the classic Looney Tunes running gag of, you know, electric getting used, and all of a sudden there's Eat at Joe's, which I know somebody would probably tell me in the comments what Eat at Joe's means. One of these days I'm going to look it up, because I know it's a running gag based off, I think, just a restaurant one of the animators went to. And then of course there's Tweety in the iron lung. She's actually not in the iron lung because she's too small to fit in it. But here you have this big, gigantic iron lung all for Tweety. And it's dark, but it's very funny. And the entire movie is like that. Just really, I did not see a joke that didn't work. Like, everything fit with their characterization and everything. And just overall, I love the comedy throughout the entire movie. I thought the comedy between Bugs and Michael Jordan also was really well done. There's sort of great chemistry that they worked on there throughout the movie, between the animators, Michael Jordan's acting and everything, that I thought really made the movie work. And it just, again, their personalities really play off each other really well. So, and also, Danny DeVito was really good at Mr. Slackhammer. Danny DeVito's always really good at playing villains, and so it was fun to watch that, and just the way the little aliens, their minds worked. That was great comedy. Just overall, I very much enjoyed the comedy throughout the entire movie. And then the last thing that I liked was the music. You know, a couple months ago, I did a Tom's Top 5 audio podcast where I talked about my top 10 favorite songs. Not songs, but soundtracks. And yeah, don't ask about why it's Tom's Top 5. Tom's Top 5 is Tom's Top 10. I go back and forth on it. It was a mess of a podcast. It was me trying to do something simple, and of course, I never make anything simple. That's just the story of my life. But yeah, when I did that, I had in my top 5, I had the Space Jam soundtrack, and it's just an awesome soundtrack. Quad City DJs with the Space Jam, the title theme. R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly. I mean, how many people stand in the shower and sing, I believe I can fly, I believe I can touch the sky. It is just the perennial song that people sing in the shower. At least I sing in the shower. It's also one of those songs I love singing off key just to annoy people. because I can be like that sometimes, or to be silly or to funny, and it works, by the way. That, Monica's For You I Will, just a great sort of love song. All for One is on here. What a great song. Basketball Jones, I already mentioned, with Barry White. And they don't have it in the movie, but if you actually do have the soundtrack, it's Barry White singing, but there are lyrical pieces with Chris Rock on there. And that's ultimately what also led to Chris Rock doing the single he released a couple years later. So you got that. Salt and Pepper's on here. Too Unlimited, We Get Ready for This, which is sort of a classic arena rock song. Classic arena song, just in general. Of course, my personal favorite, the Monstars theme. You Hit 'Em High, Hit 'Em Low. Featured B-Man, Method Man, LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes. Awesome song. I love it. Just overall, the music, the soundtrack, and the music from that soundtrack that's used in the movie, used wonderfully. And then the orchestral pieces are also very good. The sort of classic movie orchestral cartoon pieces are used for in between. So they combine sort of modern music with orchestral pieces throughout the movie. They're on point. One thing I always say about music is that the sort of best orchestral music and music that is heard, they add to sort of the emotion and the feeling throughout the movie, but they never, they're never there. Like, they're very subtle in the background. And you notice it because it may sound good, or more because it adds emotion when you're trying to critique it, but it's not overpowering the scene. It's not saying, I'm here, look at me, It's not overstepping the actors and the action and the story that's going on screen. It's subtle in the background. It's a background player, which is what that type of music should be. Or it's telling some type of story like Basketball Jones does. It provides sort of a thematic aspect, as sort of the monster theme works throughout the movie. So, whether it be the orchestral music, which I unfortunately think didn't get a release onto the soundtrack, but the orchestral music, you add in the actual soundtrack and the music from there that's used in the movie, all the music in this movie is great. But, so those are the things I like with the movie, a fair amount. But with things I like, there's also things I don't like. So let's get into the things I don't like. And with things that I don't like, I only have a couple. And the first one is CG and special effects. That are okay, but they haven't aged well. In particular, the CG. And in particular, I look at the scene where Michael Jordan gets rolled up into a basketball and is used. That has not aged well. And it does kind of take you out of the movie, like, ooh, no, that hasn't aged well at all. Yeah, it hasn't aged well. But you have that. There's also some scenes towards the end where they use a CG crowd, and it's very flat. Like it's almost maybe they ran out of budget, and so they did it in CG, and they couldn't move the crowd the way they were doing in earlier scenes. And maybe this wasn't something maybe noticed when the movie first came out, but when the movie's now on Blu-ray and you have that crystal clear background instead of the blurred background, it's very noticeable how flat some of them are in some scenes that happen towards the end. So that has to do well. I mean, in general, the special effects are really well done, but I also include the CG use of effects in that standpoint there. just some of it has not aged well. But I think the big thing about this is that despite how good the story is and everything, and all the other things that I said that I really liked, ultimately this really feels more like a commercial or music video, which again, as he's pointed out, the director, that was his past experience. I think what also compounds the issue is that the movie is only an hour and a half long. And so there isn't, it's difficult. I don't know what I would add, is ultimately the problem. I don't know what I would add. Maybe add some more Michael Jordan trying to figure out what he wants to do. It's difficult. I don't know if there's really anything you could add. The way they shot it, I don't really think there's anything you can really add. Because if you add it, I think it would take away from some of the comedy and some of the execution of the simplicity of the story. But it also goes really, really fast, and it really plays... I don't have a problem with sort of commercial tie-ins, but there's so many commercial tie-ins. It can get distracting. And again, like I say, just there are a lot of times where it plays more like a music video than just a theatrical movie. But the thing about it is these times are very far and few between. And despite those feelings, it's also still entertaining. So, I had to really struggle for stuff that I didn't like, because there's really nothing that I didn't like. I mean, I think this is a good point. Like, really, that's all I had for stuff I didn't like. I think this is really the best part to go into final thoughts. It was a real struggle to figure stuff I didn't like about this movie. I love the comedy in general, and maybe that's just a take on me and what I like, but I love the comedy. I love the inclusion of Lola Bunny. I really loved all of the live action actors, including Michael Jordan. I thought he did a great job considering he is not an actor. I love the simplicity of the story. I love how it plays. I love the music. And the fact is, all of that probably has a lot to do with the fact of how I grew up. For those of us, I always make the joke of, I grew up as close to the so-called hood as a poor Jewish white kid can without actually being in the hood. Like, literally, it was across the street from where I lived. In particular, where I majority lived in Florida, in Largo. It was like the border of Largo and Seminole. It was like, I was on this very small strip to where deeper in is the fancy houses of Seminole and where rich white families live, and then on the other side is the hood where a lot of poor minority families live. And I chose the friends that lived in the hood. I didn't want anything to do with the rich snobby kids from Seminole, particularly Seminole High. Proud to be an Osceola warrior. I'm gonna find that football picture of me of us and put it up actually now to remind myself. Anyway, I'm getting off key. But my point is that for those of us who sort of grew up into the urban-centric pop culture of the 90s, Space Jam was our jam. Like, there's so much stuff I like that's, again, because of what I grew up with. For somebody who maybe grew up in the 80s, it would be different probably. But for those of us who grew up in the 90s, like, there's this affinity for Space Jam. Is it the greatest, tightest, perfect story? No, it's a very simple story. And it uses basically Looney Tune logic. But again, when you go to see a movie, you surrender yourself to the logic of the movie. Now, that doesn't mean the logic always works, and it can take you out of the movie, but when you're going into a movie called Space Jam that features Bugs Bunny playing with Michael Jordan, you certainly accept a sort of kid-like, Looney-type logic. And everything that happens in the movie is very logical as of Looney Tunes standards. And so it just all works for me in that standpoint. The acting, again, and I think the best way to say it is they care. They may not be good actors, but they had charisma and they showed they care. They didn't treat it as if it was just some throwaway. I mean, Bill Murray, who's in here for like 2 minutes total, 2 to 5 minutes total throughout the movie, gives it his all. He doesn't feel like he just, for all the things that I knew somebody who just brought me onto the set, sort of the fourth wall breaking joke that they did there, again, it didn't feel like he was just phoning it in. It felt like Bill Murray gave a really good performance for the little short stuff that he had. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but it had to be a thrill for him, being that, him being a Chicagoan and getting to work with Michael Jordan. I wish I had more critique and actual criticism and stuff I didn't like, but I just really like this whole movie. It's simple and stuff like that, and that could be seen as a critique, but it worked within the movie. I really think this is a movie that can just be enjoyed by everybody. It's just a fun time. It's, great soundtrack, very funny comedy, very good, solid acting from people who aren't natural actors. And just overall, it's a good time. And at the end of the day, that's the thing that's most important about Space Jam. It is entertaining. It is fun. I mean, especially for those of us who grew up in the 90s, to which this, to use a pun, this was our jam. This type of music was our jam. The Looney Tunes acting in this way was our jam. It was a movie that felt like it was made for us. And especially with the way they keep remaking stuff from the 80s, can't say that a lot of stuff is made for 90s kids anymore. So, yeah, overall, I thought this was a great movie. I can't suggest the movie enough. It is a great snapshot of the 90s. It's a great movie as regards of combining live action with animation, which I've not talked a lot about. But again, I thought the way they combined the live action actor with the animated world was done great. I thought it was better than Looney Tunes in action and other ones that have done this. It's certainly better than Monkey Bones. Just overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, CG hasn't aged well, and again, it does sometimes feel like just a giant music video or commercial, but overall, it's fun and entertaining. So, time for final rating. I love Space Jam. I really do. I think it's a great movie. It's entertaining, and there's really nothing wrong with it. Just sit back, enjoy it, and have fun. I give Space Jam a 5 out of 5. So, that is it for the review of Space Jam. Now it's time for Tom's Pulpit. And welcome to a segment that I like to call Tom's Pulpit. This is a little segment at the end where I want to talk about something, as much as I joke in the monologue about not really wanting to be political, where we're going to talk maybe about some important issues that, we as the Toonami generation need to talk about. It gives me an opportunity to get some of this stuff off my chest and to use my platform to hopefully do some maybe good and some honest discussion, which I know is strange for there to be honest discussion and dialogue on the internet. But, just like a pastor would at the church, where he's talking to his congregation, I, as your pastor of the Toonami generation, would like to talk to you, my congregation. And there were a lot of things I want to talk about, but there was one that I felt I needed to talk about. So today, the subject is Charles. You know, we live in the age of the internet troll. One might say it's their world right now and we're just living in it. And every day there's a new outrage and commotion over something that somebody, in particular, a lot of times trolls may have said on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. You know, you had the Star Wars controversy to where the young actress from Last Jedi apparently has been driven off the internet by these bigoted trolls that I was joking about in the monologue. Though it is a serious case and it's really not that funny. But, you know, looking at it, it is a situation to where despite all the horrible, terrible, disgusting things they're saying, let's get that right off the bat, that a lot of these cases, they are horrible, disgusting, racist, homophobic, sexist things being saying, with the odd exception, as we'll talk about, maybe somebody saying a joke that not everybody's going to find funny, and that's really all it is. But when it comes to the really hateful stuff, you know, it's vile, horrible, terrible stuff from, in a way, very terrible people. But what really bugged me is that in this age of the internet, we seemingly paint everything black and white and just automatically believe that only one type of person would do this. A hateful, spiteful, racist, white nationalist, alt-right people. We've identified them and stereotyped the type of person that does this is somehow white and male and actually believes this. And I just look at it and I think back to the movie The Gremlins, to where you had the little monster who was cute, and there was one rule with the monster. Don't feed him after midnight, because if you did, they became gremlins. Well, we've not listened to the really one important rule in the age of the internet troll, and now we have an internet full of gremlins. Don't feed the trolls. And I think it's important to actually talk about the different type of trolls, because I don't think people really understand the different type of trolls out there. Now, in a way, first person we're going to talk about is the honest person who's actually good. Maybe they said a joke that deals with race or whatever, something they probably shouldn't have said on Twitter. You know, the Herman Edwards, like, don't press send. It would probably do them best in that case. And those are people who will generally apologize if people are offended by something that they say. But the others are more important to talk about. Now, first off, there's your traditional internet troll. These are people who are doing stuff, again, because they find comedy in the way that society gets outraged so quickly. The sort of outrage culture makes them laugh. And so they look to get people riled up and emotional. Then you have actual racists and homophobes and horrible people who are saying it because they find it cool and it scores points with their base of vile human beings that they are with. Again, actual racists, actual homophobes who are using hate language and stuff like that. But then you also, and we know this from research done by multiple universities and from the Pentagon and what happened in the last election, that you have trolls from like Russia and North Korea and China and other countries of ill repute that don't like us, who are coming onto Facebook and Twitter and other platforms claiming, pretending to be Americans or people from any other Western civilized country like England or France or whatever, and saying all these hateful things to get us riled up and emotional and to lose faith in our governments. And then the last one, and this is the most dangerous one, are individuals from a cause, in particular a progressive cause, like feminism or Black Lives Matter or anyone, pride groups who are coming on and creating fake accounts and doing it to get their base riled up. That's like, see, here's proof of this homophobia on the internet, or the sexism on the internet, or the racism on the internet, as if, they really need to create fake stuff when there's so much already out there that they can use, but they feel they need to do it anymore because to them people aren't moving fast enough, so they need more outrage and worse stuff on there to try to get people to get out and join them in protest or whatever it may be. And you may think this may be a very small, minute problem, to which it may be, but let me give you an example. A couple of years ago in Rutgers, there was a leader of a Black Lives Matter activist group who she organized a meetup, a sort of protest of some sort, and she apparently created a fake account on Twitter and sent herself very hateful messaging, to which she then ran back and said, look what this racist sent me and sent our group, and it ended up driving this meeting into a riot to where they destroyed stuff. But she was eventually found out that she did this and was brought to court. And this is stuff that has happened. How common it is, we can never know, because ultimately the reason we're talking about all these different type of trolls is that one of the things about the internet is the anonymity. You don't know who's on the other end of that hateful message. You don't know their sex, you don't know their sexual preference, their race, their religion, anything. Because they can be anybody. They can be any one of these groups of people. Yes, they could be racist, but they could also be people pretending to be racist to get you riled up and emotional. And that's the issue. Yes, this stuff is horrible. And yes, we wish it'd be gone, but you know what? There's a much easier and simpler way to handle all this than to get upset and get emotional and giving them exactly what they want. And that is ignoring them. Because in every conceivable way, all of their goals are to get people riled up, emotional, acting on their emotions, and to basically boost the post on Facebook or boost it on Twitter to where everybody's seeing what they're doing. Regardless of where, for the sort of agents from other countries, they want us to lose faith in our government. Racists are trying to score points by getting emotional reactions towards their comments. Things like, oh, we've gotten this person to cry or be upset. Internet trolls get joy out of the irrational thought process and comments that people make in response. And like I said, the people who are making fake comments to get people riled up about an issue, again, it's self-explanatory. In all of these cases, if you just ignore the hateful comments and the hateful stuff, and yes, it's very hard to do. When you see a friend or when you yourself are attacked on the internet, it is a very natural thing to get upset and to want to do something about it. But when they want you to respond, you're giving them exactly what they want. That's why just ignoring it is the best thing to do. Even better yet, let me give you another alternative. If you see a friend who's being attacked with racist or homophobic or hateful comments on Twitter or Facebook, don't acknowledge the post or say, but you know what? Give a comment to where you're praising them for something. Or just send a positive comment that completely ignores what was said and just focuses and let that person know, there are people that like you and are there for you. Fight back with positivity and ignore and don't give the ignorance, any meaning. Because you don't want to verify what they're saying. Both of these, the ignoring the hateful stuff, and because you have faith in that, everybody else around you knows that basically this is a hateful thing and stupid and ignorant. Because, that's the thing. People act irrationally and think that, everybody agrees with this comment if they're not immediately commenting about how hateful it is. We all know it's hateful, but we also know that they want us to respond. So the best thing we can do is to ignore it, to give positive feedback to the individual being attacked, so that they know that there's people there for them, who care for them, and like what they do. And in the case of where an actual threat is being done, contact local authorities, or the FBI has a cybercrime unit. Take a snapshot so that there's evidence and send it to them so that they can do something about it. Because there are laws against threats like that. And if they're stupid, particularly with racists who are stupid enough to do it, if you take that picture and send it to the FBI or to the local authorities so that they know somebody has done this, you can actually possibly save lives. I'm not saying that this is all easy. In fact, it's really quite hard, especially in the age of the troll and how popular trolling is. But in every conceivable way, if we stop reacting with our emotions and start being rational and not giving them the attention that they so desperately want, and instead reinforce people with positivity, we can actually reverse this trend. The agents from other countries won't be able to twist elections in their favor. And people won't be scared off the internet, and we can actually change the internet, hopefully, into some place of enjoyment. I know that's my goal with this video. Hopefully you got a couple laughs out of it. In closing, we need to go back in what a lot of us knew back in the early days of the internet when it comes to trolls. And we should make it a national platform into helping fix the internet. And that platform is simply this: don't feed the trolls. So next time you see somebody make a hateful comment that's trying to get a reaction out of you, remember to say, don't feed the trolls. When somebody that you don't know makes an outrageous claim about hatefulness or something that you can't verify, just remember, don't feed the trolls. When somebody says something as ridiculous as send a letter asking Disney to give them the rights to remake Last Jedi, something so ridiculous that it has to be fake and you know it in your heart, just remember, don't feed the trolls. Well, that was it for Tom's pulpit. I hope that can start a very open and positive dialogue about that subject. But, that's it for Space Jam. Hope you enjoyed the review. Remember to like us and subscribe on YouTube. We got one more thing to cover, and that is the next episode. So in this new relaunch for Tom's Prerogative, next episode, well, we all know Toonami. We all know the shows that have been on Toonami, particularly the ones at the beginning where it started and you had Thundercats and Voltron and Real Adventures of Johnny Quest and the Hanna-Barbera short cartoons. But for those of us who were watching Cartoon Network at the time, some of you youngins might remember this, there was a very awesome show that would show right before Toonami that wasn't part of the block. a show where we kicked our tires and light the fires as we flew into the danger zone. A danger zone, my friends, that was called Mega Cat City. That's right, next time, it's SWAT cats. So until next time, my Tsunami generation, stay golden.
This is Nerdcore Absolution. Come to peace with your inner nerd, and after you can stay gold like TOM. Chilling out the galaxy, and we know him. Putting tunes up that'll keep you up. Glued to the screen like you do too much. The galaxy is ours, the sun and the stars. Tsunamis on and chilling hard. Watching closely from a perch among the stars as viewers await the moment when the spirit bomb can charge. Hito Yui self detonates. Yu Yu Hakusho replicates suspense in the spirit realm while their chests are pounding hard.